My aunt changed the locks on my cabin because I never use it. The key didn't just stick, it refused to acknowledge that it even belonged to the lock. I stood on the porch, the freezing wind of a February afternoon whipping around my legs, and shoved the brass key into the deadbolt for the fourth time. It slid in halfway, hit a jagged metal obstruction, and stopped dead. I pulled it out, stared at the teeth, and tried again. Jiggle, push, twist. Nothing. I took a step back, my boots crunching on the layer of ice that had formed over the wooden planks of the deck. I looked at the hardware. It was shiny. It was gold. The hardware I installed 5 years ago was brushed nickel. My stomach didn't just drop, it plummeted through the floorboards and landed somewhere in the frozen dirt beneath the cabin. I looked at the door frame. The wood around the strike plate was splintered, raw and jagged, as if someone had taken a screwdriver and a hammer to it before covering their work with a hastily installed, brand new Schlage deadbolt. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't at the wrong house. This was my cabin. I built the deck with my own hands. I planted the pine tree that was currently dropping snow onto my truck. I pounded on the door. The sound echoed through the silent woods, a dull, heavy thud-thud-thud that felt swallowed by the winter air. "Hello?" I shouted. "Is anyone in there?" I expected silence. I expected to find that a squatter had broken in, changed the locks, and then fled. Instead, I heard footsteps. Heavy, shuffling footsteps. Then the sound of the deadbolt sliding back. The door swung open. A cloud of stale, acrid cigarette smoke rolled out, hitting me in the face like a physical slap. It smelled of cheap tobacco, unwashed bodies, and something burning, like plastic. Standing in the doorway, blocking my view of the living room, was a woman. She was wearing fuzzy pink slippers that were black with grime on the toes. She held a lit cigarette in one hand and a half-empty can of diet soda in the other. And she was wrapped in a thick, navy blue flannel robe. My navy blue flannel robe. The one I kept in the master closet for winter mornings. It was Aunt Linda. My father's sister. The woman who hadn't spoken to me in 3 years because I refused to lend her money for a guaranteed pyramid scheme involving essential oils. She blinked at me, squinting against the harsh winter sunlight. She didn't look ashamed. She didn't look surprised. She looked annoyed. "David," she rasped, taking a drag of the cigarette and blowing the smoke directly past my ear. "What are you doing here? It's Sunday." I stared at her. My brain was misfiring, trying to reconcile the image of my estranged aunt wearing my clothes in my locked vacation home. "What am I doing here?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Linda, this is my house. Why do you have a key? Why are the locks changed?" She rolled her eyes, a gesture so dismissive it made my blood boil. "Keep your voice down. The boys are sleeping. We changed the locks because the old ones were sticky. You really should maintain this place better if you expect guests." "Guests?" I stepped forward, forcing her to take a step back into the entryway. "You aren't a guest. You broke in. How long have you been here?" "We didn't break in," she scoffed, tapping ash onto my hardwood floor. "We utilized an abandoned property. Grandma always said family helps family. You weren't using it. It's been sitting empty all winter. It's wasteful, David. Sinful, really. So we claimed it." "Claimed it?" I felt the heat rising in my neck, a prickly, dangerous sensation. "This isn't the Wild West, Linda. You can't just claim a deeded property because I didn't visit in January." "Squatters' rights," she said the words with a smug tilt of her chin, like she had just played a royal flush. "Look it up. We've been here for 30 days. That establishes residency. You can't kick us out without an eviction notice. It's the law. 30 days. I was here 3 weeks ago to check the propane levels. The house was empty then. She was lying. She was lying to my face, in my robe, standing in my house. I was here 3 weeks ago, I said, my voice dropping to a low, icy growl. You haven't been here 30 days. You've been here maybe 2. Get your stuff. Get out. Now. No, she said, crossing her arms. We have rights. Besides, where are we supposed to go? We lost the apartment. You have plenty of money. You have a house in the city. Don't be greedy. I'm not being greedy, I'm being the owner. I shouted. I pushed past her. I needed to see the inside. I needed to see what she had done. Hey, she screamed, grabbing my arm. You can't come in here. This is my home now. I ripped my arm away. I walked into the living room. The smell was worse inside. It was a mixture of rotting food, wet dog, and that chemical burning smell. I looked around. The furniture was rearranged. There were piles of dirty laundry on my leather sofa. There were fast food wrappers covering every inch of the coffee table. But that wasn't what stopped my heart. It was what was missing. I looked at the kitchen. I stood in the archway between the living room and the kitchen, and my brain simply refused to process the visual data it was receiving. It was like looking at a smile with missing teeth. The refrigerator was gone. My stainless steel, double-door Samsung fridge, which I had saved for 6 months to buy, was missing. In its place was a dirty outline on the linoleum and a small, styrofoam cooler sitting on the floor. I looked to the right. The stove. Gone. The gas line had been capped with a piece of duct tape, and the space where the range used to be was empty. I spun around. The microwave. Gone. The toaster oven. Gone. Where is my kitchen? I whispered. The rage was so intense it made my vision vibrate. Linda shuffled into the room behind me, tightening the belt of my robe. We had to sell some things, she said casually, as if she were talking about a garage sale. To buy food. And heating oil. You left the tank almost empty, David. Very irresponsible. You sold my appliances. I turned to face her. You stole my stove to buy heating oil. It's not stealing, she shrieked. We are residents. We have a right to maintain the utilities. We needed cash for the delivery truck. Do you want your cousins to freeze? Is that what you want? You want blood on your hands? My cousins? I asked. Who is here? Kyle and Travis, she said. They're in the back. Kyle and Travis. My adult cousins. Both in their 30s. Both with criminal records for theft. I walked toward the back bedrooms. The hallway felt colder than the rest of the house. Much colder. I could see my breath. Why is it so cold? I asked. The heater isn't working right, Linda grumbled. That's why we needed the oil. I reached the utility closet in the hallway. I opened the door. The furnace was there. But the panel was off. I looked closer. The copper piping. The lines running from the furnace to the vents. The electrical wiring that connected the thermostat. It was stripped. It wasn't just the kitchen. They had gutted the walls. They had ripped the copper wiring out of the utility room. That was the burning plastic smell. They had probably been melting the insulation off the wire to sell it for scrap metal. You stripped the copper, I said. My voice was calm now. Terrifyingly calm. It was the calm of a man who realizes he has absolutely nothing left to lose. You ripped the wiring out of the walls. We needed money. Linda yelled from the kitchen. It's just wire. You can replace it. You have insurance. I walked to the back bedroom. The door was closed. I kicked it open. Kyle and Travis were lying on mattresses on the floor, mattresses they had dragged off the bed frames. The room was a disaster. There were piles of copper wire in the corner. There was a stack of my DVDs. There were tools, my tools from the shed, scattered everywhere. They looked up, bleary-eyed. They looked high. "Dave?" Kyle mumbled. "Sup?" "Get out," I said. "We live here," Travis sneered, reaching for a beer can. "Squatters' rights, bro," Mom said. "Mom lied," I said. I turned around and walked back to the living room. Linda was standing there, arms crossed, defiant. "You can't kick us out," she said. "I know my rights. You have to serve us papers. You have to give us 30 days. And if you try to change the locks back, I'll sue you for illegal eviction." I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I looked at the signal. 1 bar. "Enough. I'm not evicting you, Linda," I said, dialing 3 numbers. "I'm reporting a burglary in progress." "Don't you dare," she lunged for the phone. I stepped back. 911. "Yes. I need the sheriff at 442, Pine Ridge Road. Immediately. I have intruders in my home. They have destroyed the property and stripped the copper wiring. Yes, I am the owner. Yes, they are still here. You called the cops on your own family?" Linda screamed. She looked terrified now. "You rat. After everything I did for you. I babysat you when you were 10. And now you destroyed my house," I said. "You aren't family. You're termites." "They won't do anything," she yelled, backing up toward the kitchen. "They'll tell you it's a civil matter. I have mail. Look." She grabbed a piece of paper from the counter. It was a piece of junk mail. She had taped her name over the address label. "See?" she waved it. "Proof of residency. That's fraud, Linda. Just like everything else." I walked out to the porch. I wasn't staying inside with them. I stood on the deck, shivering, guarding the exit. It took 20 minutes for the sheriff to arrive. We are in a rural county. Sheriff Brody came alone at first, his SUV crunching up the icy driveway. He got out, hitching his belt. He knew me. He knew my dad. "David," he nodded. "What's the trouble?" "They broke in," I said, pointing at the door. "Changed the locks. They sold the appliances. They stripped the copper wiring from the walls. The house is gutted, Brody." Brody's face darkened. "Who is it?" "My Aunt Linda and her sons. The ones with the warrants?" Brody asked. "Probably. They claiming residency?" Brody asked, walking up the steps. He's seen this scam before. She used the phrase, "squatters' rights" about 5 times, I said. "Right," Brody sighed. "Well, let's see." He knocked on the door. "Sheriff's Department." Linda opened the door. She had put on a brave face. She was still wearing my robe. "Officer," she cried, putting a hand to her chest. "Thank God you're here. My nephew is harassing us. He's trying to illegally evict us from our home. We have established residency." "Is that so?" Brody asked. "Can I see a lease? A utility bill in your name?" "We have a verbal agreement," she lied. "And look, I have mail." She held up the taped junk mail. Brody didn't even look at it. He looked past her, into the kitchen. He saw the empty spot where the fridge used to be. He smelled the burning plastic. "Ma'am," Brody said. "Did you sell the appliances?" "It was our property," she argued. "In lieu of maintenance fees." "And the copper?" Brody asked. "David says the walls are stripped." "We were upgrading the electrical," she stammered. "With what?" Brody asked. Invisible wire? He turned to me. David, did you give them permission to be here? Never, I said. I haven't spoken to her in 3 years. I came up to check the pipes and the locks were changed. Okay, Brody turned back to Linda. Ma'am, squatter's rights, or adverse possession, requires years of occupancy, usually paying taxes. It does not apply to breaking and entering. And once you start selling the fixtures of the home, that's felony larceny. That's vandalism. And stripping copper. That's meth head behavior, Linda. How dare you, she screamed. Where are the boys? Brody asked, putting his hand on his holster. Not drawing, just ready. They're sleeping. Kyle. Travis. Brody shouted. Get out here. They didn't come out. I heard the back window slide open. They're running, I said. Brody ran around the side of the house. I followed. Kyle and Travis were trying to scramble out the bedroom window into the deep snow. Travis was stuck halfway out, his foot caught on the sill. Kyle was floundering in a snowbank, trying to run in 3 feet of powder. Don't move. Brody yelled. They froze. Backup arrived 5 minutes later. 2 more deputies. They dragged Kyle and Travis out of the snow. They handcuffed them. Then they went for Linda. You can't arrest me, she screamed as the deputy spun her around. I'm an old woman. I have rights. This is my house. You're under arrest for burglary, grand larceny, and criminal mischief, the deputy recited. You have the right to remain silent. David, she wailed, looking at me as they marched her down the steps. She tripped on the hem of my robe. David, tell them. We're family. You can't let them take me to jail. I'm your father's sister. My father would be ashamed of you, I said. And I want my robe back. Take it, she tried to shrug it off, but she was cuffed. Take your stupid robe. You selfish, rich brat. You have everything and you won't share. I share with people who ask, I said. Not people who steal. They put her in the back of the cruiser. She kicked the window. I stood there with Brody. We looked at the house. It's a mess, Dave, Brody said. You're gonna need a contractor. And an electrician. You can't turn the power back on with the wires stripped. It'll spark. I know, I said. I have insurance. Hopefully, it covers Ant. It usually covers vandalism, Brody said. Make sure you list everything. Every screw they took. I spent the next hour walking through the house with a notepad. The damage was extensive. They had ripped the copper out of the bathroom walls, destroying the tile. They had sold the water heater. They had even taken the light bulbs. Total estimated damage, $45,000. I drove back to the city that night. I didn't sleep. The fallout was immediate. My phone blew up. My other cousins, my uncles, people I barely talked to, were calling me. You put Linda in jail, my Uncle Bob left a voicemail. She's family, David. You dropped the charges. You handle this internally. I texted back, she caused $45,000 in damages. If the family wants to pool together and write me a check for the repairs, I'll ask the DA to be lenient. Otherwise, she stays in. Nobody wrote a check. Linda is currently awaiting trial. She couldn't make bail. The boys are in too, they had outstanding warrants for, surprise, surprise, theft of scrap metal in the next county. I'm rebuilding the cabin. It's taking time. I'm putting in a security system this time. Cameras. Motion sensors. And I'm upgrading the locks to smart locks that notify my phone if they're tampered with. I found the fridge on Facebook Marketplace a week later. The seller was a pawn shop 2 towns over. I went there with the police report and got it back. It smelled like fish, but it was mine. I realized something up there in the cold. Family is a heavy word. People use it like a shield. They use it to justify things they would never do to a stranger. But a shield works both ways. You can hide behind it, or you can get crushed by it. Linda thought family meant she could take what she wanted. I taught her that family means you respect what isn't yours. So, tell me. Am I the monster for sending my aunt to prison for destroying my vacation home, or did she just learn that the only right a squatter has is the right to remain silent?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.